The Bible's pages not only convey sacred promises, but also reflect enduring disputes across millennia. Each biblical event is tied to key figures and transformative moments that shape the fate of nations. What truly ignited the enduring conflict between Jews and Arabs throughout the ages? What secrets in their history quietly continue to shape today's society? Could the answers lie within the Bible's stories, offering lessons to resolve today's crises? Get ready for an intriguing journey to uncover the historical links and choices that determined war and peace, born from old decisions and promises. As always, don't forget to hit like and share this video with your loved ones. And remember to subscribe to the channel to give me more motivation to create exciting videos. In a mystical moment in the vast desert of Mesopotamia, God called Abraham, an ordinary man, and gave him a great promise that would forever change the course of human history. Genesis 12:2 states, "I will make you into a great nation, I will bless you, I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing to all people." This promise is not only a divine commitment, but also an everlasting covenant, lasting through generations, bringing not only descendants, but an unbreakable bond. Picture Abraham, a man of steadfast faith, living in a time when the ability to bear children and sustain a lineage was the greatest pride. Together with his wife Sarah, despite their old age, they endured a smoldering sorrow of childlessness, a pain like a ghost haunting their days. God's promise not only challenged their faith, but stirred a powerful hope for a brighter future, even in their twilight years. Yet the prolonged waiting became a burden on their shoulders, and Sarah's barrenness increasingly magnified their despair. Yearning for motherhood, Sarah began to consider societal solutions of the time, including appointing her servant to bear a child on her behalf, a common practice. One afternoon, as the final light of the day faded, Sarah, in a moment of resolve tinged with hesitation, suggested to Abraham, "The Lord has blocked me from bearing children. Sleep with my servant, and perhaps I can build a family through her." Though born from despair, this seemed a reasonable solution in their social context, where children carried immense value in terms of status. In their nomadic community, reproduction was not just a physiological need, but also a matter of survival, and having a servant bear a child was not unusual. Hagar, the Egyptian servant, was the ideal candidate for this role, and although Sarah was anxious, she decided to move forward with the plan to fulfill the promise. Abraham, with his love for Sarah, agreed, perhaps not because he sought an alternative, but out of deep affection for his wife. Sarah, who had once believed this would be the answer to her pain, now felt threatened. Hagar's presence, once her servant, had become an inescapable reminder of Sarah's failure to bear children. The relationship between Sarah and Hagar quickly turned tense and competitive as Hagar began to look down on Sarah with disdain and pride. Sarah, consumed by pain and jealousy, found herself engulfed by feelings of insecurity and humiliation. This tense moment not only highlights the complexity of the relationships between the characters, but also demonstrates how human interference in divine plans, even with good intentions, can lead to unavoidable division and misunderstandings. In a moment of despair and anger, Sarah began to mistreat Hagar, who suffered oppression from both her mistress and herself. Overcome by her burdens, Hagar chose to flee into the desert, seeking liberation from the immense pain and pressure. Her flight was not merely a physical escape, but a deep inner battle between her role as a mother and the suffering she had to endure. She was no longer just a servant, but a determined woman, a mother confronting numerous challenges. The desert, dry, cold, and dark, became a sacred place for Hagar. Here she sought freedom and solitude, but also confronted deep pain, a pain that forced her to face the possibility of losing everything, including her life and her son. Yet in her despair, God did not forsake her. An angel of the Lord came, bringing a message full of hope. "Hagar, do not be afraid, for God has heard the cry of you where you are." Genesis 21:17. The angel's call was not just comfort, but a declaration that God always listens and cares for his children, no matter how difficult the circumstances. With the encouragement of the angel, Hagar found not only comfort, but also guidance toward a bright future. The desert was no longer a place of isolation, but a sacred space where God came near and gave her hope. When she returned to Abraham's household, though tension still existed, Hagar carried with her firm faith in God's promise of a future. She was pregnant with Ishmael, a clear sign that God had heard her pain and would fulfill his word. Despite this, Hagar's life did not become any easier. The presence of Ishmael in Abraham's family sparked jealousy from Sarah, who had earlier suggested that Abraham take Hagar as a concubine. Tensions between the two women gradually escalated, and new hardships soon arose. The rivalry between Ishmael and Isaac, Abraham's sons, fostered an atmosphere of conflict. In Genesis 21:9 through 10, Sarah tells Abraham to expel Hagar and Ishmael, saying, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that slave woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." This expulsion was more than a family decision. It reflected the harsh reality of Abraham's complicated family dynamics. When Hagar and Ishmael were cast out, they faced not only material deprivation, but also a crushing sense of isolation. They wandered through the desert, thirsty and struggling to survive. Yet in their darkest hour, God again showed his concern for them. The angel of God guided Hagar to a well, a miracle that demonstrated that even in the most desperate circumstances, God remains present and will never abandon his children. As stated in Genesis 21:19, "Then God opened her eyes and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink." This is a clear expression of divine love and provision. Ishmael's youth was not only about physical growth, but also valuable lessons in patience and resilience. The days spent in the desert not only forged his body, but also provided opportunities to develop the qualities of a future leader. The desert, with its harshness and solitude, became both a place of trial and a source of strength. Throughout those years, Ishmael not only learned to survive, but also how to draw strength from the challenges that God had set before him. Ishmael's resilience was shown through his ability to overcome life's hardships. Even in the most difficult of times, he remained steadfast in his faith in God's promises, believing that every challenge had a deeper purpose. Hagar, with all the love and sacrifice of a mother, taught Ishmael the values of survival and respect for nature and the world around him. Each lesson not only made him stronger, but also helped him understand the importance of living in harmony with the land he inhabited. Though life in the desert was harsh, each passing day was a new opportunity for Ishmael to learn and grow. The desert, with its wild beauty, taught him that life is never easy, but in every circumstance, peace and purpose can still be found. Ishmael's life was intertwined with resilience and courage, traits essential for survival and growth in the desert. With exceptional skill in archery, he became a proficient archer, taking on the roles of protector and provider for himself and his mother. Genesis 21:20-21 depicts Ishmael's growth. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. This not only recognizes Ishmael's hunting skills, but also confirms God's constant presence in his life. God's protection was key in helping Ishmael navigate the trials he faced throughout his growing years. As Ishmael matured, Hagar not only worried about his survival in the desert, but also about his long-term future. Living in isolation in the desert made her realize that he needed a life partner, someone to accompany him and carry on the family's values. Hagar, understanding the importance of marriage and maintaining family bonds and tribal protection, decided to find an Egyptian wife for Ishmael. This decision carried personal significance and was deeply embedded in cultural and historical traditions. Hagar, originally from Egypt, chose a girl from her homeland for Ishmael, aiming to strengthen the connection between Ishmael's lineage and Abraham's family, while fostering a fusion of Egyptian and Arab cultures. Ishmael's marriage becomes a crucial part of God's sacred promise, where his lineage will form mighty tribes, spreading and growing throughout the Middle East. This relationship symbolizes resilience beyond trials, serving as a model for cultural connection and the preservation of the divine promises God has given. Ishmael's life proves that God's promises will be fulfilled not only in times of ease, but also in the face of adversity, where all his actions carried the purpose of continuing a legendary heritage. The Ishmaelites, developed from his children, not only preserve Arab culture, but also form a close-knit network of relationships connecting families and tribes through generations. The story of Ishmael and his descendants is not just about transmitting God's promises through generations, but also a living proof of his continuous presence in the life and history of his people. The relationship between Ishmael and Isaac, despite their clear differences, carries a powerful message of reconciliation and unity. A significant moment is seen in Genesis 25:9, when the two brothers come together to bury their father Abraham in the cave of Machpelah. This action was not simply a children's duty, but a symbol of overcoming the conflicts and disputes that had existed throughout their childhood. Even with their apparent differences, this moment shows their recognition of a shared heritage, highlighting that family ties, though tested by arguments, remain strong and lasting. Throughout the Bible, family relationships hold significant importance, from the promises made to Abraham to the tales of his descendants. The dynamic between Ishmael and Isaac exemplifies that, despite division and rivalry, moments of reconciliation can occur, showing God's guiding hand in family relations. The act of Ishmael and Isaac burying their father together was not only a personal gesture, but also a symbol of reconciliation between the two lineages, establishing a foundation for the growth of the nations they would represent. Looking at the development of Ishmael's descendants and his tribes, we can clearly see the long-standing interaction between the Ishmaelites and the Israelites, a relationship that has profoundly impacted politics, society, and culture in the region. Though a secondary son, God's promise to Ishmael of a great nation reflects his recognition of him and the greatness of the Arab lineage from which he is the ancestor. In Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions, Ishmael holds an important role. He is the son of Hagar in Judaism, and in Islam, he is regarded as a prophet and key heir. This highlights the richness of religious and cultural diversity within Abraham's lineage. The relationship between Jews and Arabs has evolved over centuries, becoming especially prominent in political events like the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, with tensions surrounding power, land, and identity. These conflicts not only reflect the biblical divide between the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael, but also reveal the complexity of human nature and the free will that God has bestowed upon each individual. These conflicts were not part of God's original intention, but are the result of human choices. Yet the Bible highlights God's call for love, peace, and reconciliation. God's promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael, along with Jesus' call in Matthew 5:44. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Establish a peace ideal we are urged to pursue. This calling serves as both a reminder of love and forgiveness, and a guide for us in a divided world. Peace is truly a shared responsibility, as seen in Romans 12:18. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. This verse affirms that peace is not just an aim, but an action that each of us must practice. As we look forward, despite ongoing conflicts, God's plan of reconciliation and unity will be fulfilled. Revelation 7:9 presents a glorious vision of unity and worship, where all nations and peoples stand before God in His glory. This image reminds us that one day we will live in peace and unity under God's leadership, when all divisions between us will be healed. May we draw faith and inspiration from these sacred truths, to become those who bring light to a world that is in desperate need of healing and reconciliation. Through prayer, understanding, and acts of love, each of us can contribute to carrying out God's holy plan, helping the nations of the world unite and worship the Creator. If you found this video and its reflections helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and follow the upcoming videos that will appear on your screen. Deeper sermons and biblical insights will be a great source of inspiration on your faith journey. Thank you for watching, wishing you health, and may God bless you.